I pressed the right button. All right. Well, so welcome everybody to our third Thursday webinar series. This is number 7, I believe. Might be number 6. We've got a few more to go towards the end of the year, and we're also going to be launching an elementary webinar series probably in February. And that'll be a whole series on elementary trade-specific programming, led by a few people, including Randy Gray over there and Don Cameron, and we'll also have some school districts from around the province sharing their practice. So I believe the next webinar is the next one sheet metal? No, we did sheet metal. There's another webinar in February. We'll make sure to send out the link for registration. So I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk through a few things. All right, so welcome to Third Thursday webinar. This is part of our Skills Ready initiative, and we're really working towards the idea that with Skills Ready we can support more access to applied learning across the K-12 system and help encourage people to discover trades and other hands-on careers. A lot of the work we're doing on today's session is about bringing core curriculum into the mix, and how can we do project-based learning to discover core curriculum with tools. And we do, most of the projects you're going to see today are on the sort of older end of things, so middle school, high school projects, but we do have some very specific elementary projects that we'll reference as we go, but you'll also find out more on the website. So I'm just going to start off by saying I'd like to acknowledge that we are living and working on traditional First Nation territories in BC. We thank many of the nations that have called this land home for thousands of years for allowing us to learn and work together on their land. For us, this is a statement that of land acknowledgement, and we also are working on several initiatives in partnership with First Nations across the province. So if you'd like to learn more about that, I definitely encourage you to check out the Indigenous Skills Initiative. You can find it at indigenousskills.ca. That's where we're looking at how can we celebrate traditional trades and traditional craft and traditional projects that have sort of formed that foundation for life here in BC for thousands of years. The webinars and a lot of the work we do this year have been made possible by the ITA. So a big shout out to the ITA youth team. Normally they're here, but it's the fiscal year end and they're budgeting instead. I'm going to cut that out of the video eventually, but the shout out to them. They've been an amazing supporter and amazing collaborator over the years. This is part of our Skills Ready initiative. For those of you who are new to what Skills Ready is, you'll find out a lot more on the Skills Ready website. We've developed quite a few teacher resources, including things that fit into the K-12 applied learning, so the ADST curriculum, as well as some support for your career discovery programs. We have some resources around industry expectations that can be really used to help young people articulate that they're more ready than they think for trades work. We also have several grants and other initiatives that I'd really encourage you to check out. You can find a lot of that on our Construction Foundation website. So you'll see there we have driver's training grants and tuition grants and all sorts of other things. We still have Project Shop Class, but it's on an application specific basis right now until we launch kind of a newer version of that next year. So stay tuned for more info on that. I'm going to put my email in the chat. If any of the stuff that you hear about today you want more information on, including the blended learning resources that we talk about in their lesson plans, just send me an email and I'll make sure to share those out with you. Or if you want to find out more about anything we do or figure out ways we can collaborate more, please do reach out. The foundation has been around for a while. We're going on 10 years next year, but Skills Ready's only been around for 5. A really important part of the way that we run this program is that it's in support of teachers, because we truly believe you're doing amazing things and we want to make your life easier as much as possible, not harder. So instead of just like making up more work for you, we're trying to do things that make your teaching experience meaningful with students and support you in doing that. So at the end of today's session too, if you want to hang out, we're going to have like a 15 or 20 minute chat about your needs in terms of what you'd like to see for blended learning projects or other sorts of things to support your programs. So Jesse will lead that discussion, and Randy and Jesse will probably talk about what they're up to with design learning. That doesn't sound right. Design thinking, that's the word. Design thinking, though we'll probably go through that at that point. Just a heads up as well, Randy is working on a project to summarize all of the ADST programs around the province. So there's a survey that he's developing. We'll send that out to everybody, but just as a heads up, what we're really trying to do is highlight the fact that most of these things that are existing out there, or most of the things you're wanting to create, may actually exist already. And how do we find that, and how do we share information across across schools? And that's really the point of this project. So a lot of what this webinar project, a lot of what we're doing is developing projects to live on the Skills Ready site. And these are projects that are either designed by teachers and shared with us, or designed by our team here. And by our team, I mean Jesse. And then Randy now as well is jumping on to design some more projects. These projects are intended to be shaped to the limitations and opportunities in shop classes and regular classes across K-12. So what do you need for a 24 student shop class, that sort of thing. The origins of the cross-curricular learning, this really harkens back to what we wanted to see, which is more applied learning. So we started out with this challenge of how could we bring project-based learning into core curriculum and really start to build kind of an exploration of your science and math and your language curriculum through hands-on learning with real tools. And that was kind of the design brief we started with. Originally, we put tradespeople and teachers together to smash their brains into new projects. And we found that to be rewarding, but incredibly challenging. But as we go forward, a lot of what we're going to be doing is encouraging ways to explore curriculum through that project-based learning. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because we have an amazing guest with us today. I'm going to get Jessie to introduce her. Yeah, I just wanted to say at this point, thanks for everybody's time this afternoon. Definitely know that it's not the easiest time of year, and it's not the easiest time of year, and it's not the easiest time with COVID. So I really appreciate that you gave up time to hang out with us. So without further ado, Jessie and Joanna.
Yay, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. I am going to introduce to you Johanna, who's graciously offered to do an interview with us on site. Joanna's in Penticton now. She's been doing some presentations in schools for Construction Foundation, and she's Red Seal carpenter, very passionate about the trades and excited to volunteer time to help our youth get hands-on activities and promote the trades. So, hi, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you. It looks like you're on site there.
I am. I'm at my job site in Kelowna in Rutland right now.
Nice. And you mentioned it was like a residential and commercial build, like a combo.
Yeah, so it's a 100 unit residential on the top, and then commercial on the bottom, and 1/2 residential townhouse on the other side. It's a complicated building.
Yeah, it sounds massive.
Very big, very busy.
So being a Red Seal carpenter, what do you have a specialty role in that build right now? What exactly is your job?
So every job I go to, my role changes. This time I still do carpentry, but I'm a deficiency manager for this project. So I'm basically my superintendent's right hand. I help coordinate with all the trades on the site. And then once we get into the finishing stages, I'll go through and basically check all the trades work and tell them it's good or not good. It has to be done differently or better. And then final approval so that we're ready for occupancy and people to move in. I also do the safety side of things on my job site. So just making sure the site's safe, first aid if necessary. And I'm also a forklift operator. So I'm very busy. Wear lots of hats on site.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we're very lucky that you could take the time to stop and chit chat with us.
My company is very supportive, and they don't ever have a problem with me doing these kind of events. It's important to the youth because those are our future employees, hopefully.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can gather a few helpers to send your way eventually. Okay, I wanted to ask you about the tools of the trade. I know you're not right in on the tools at the moment, so I've got a bunch of sunshine right in my face at the moment. But yeah, because we're developing resources for teachers and introducing kids to tools. We're just kind of curious what types of tools you use as a carpenter, maybe the top 5 tools that you might have on the job there.
I can use a lot of different types of tools. I think the main ones that I would have to have with me all the time is, of course, my measuring tape. I got to measure everything right? Measure twice, cut once. My speed square. You can use a speed square for a lot of different things, straight edge, doing layout on trusses and joists or different angles. You can use it as a wedge if you have to lift something up to nail it in.
Oh, yeah.
You can use it as a back scratcher. It's a very versatile tool. A hammer, obviously, you can use that for hitting things or people, and you can also use it for prying things or removing nails. I'm just kidding. We don't hit people. A level. I use a level a lot, and like an impact driver, and a skill saw. Those are my main things I use pretty frequently. Can use them in different ways to do different things.
Awesome. The level is one that I hadn't really thought about, like introducing kids to in the lessons, because I'm kind of making smaller things that aren't necessarily anchored to the ground and needing to be level, but I would love to do some lessons.
You can use a level for plumbing and leveling. You can also use it as a straight edge, right? Like a ruler.
Right.
So I mean, that's for more bigger builds. I guess you don't really need to use a level.
No, but it's great. I mean, they're so interesting to learn how, like, I don't know, I always thought they were cute when I was a kid, so may as well make some lessons around it, because we could make some lessons that are just activities and not necessarily building something, but showing how the levels work and stuff. So
yeah.
Good. Okay. How did you decide to pursue the trades? Like, what was the initial sort of spark in your
okay. So about 6 years ago, 16 years ago, 15 years ago, I became a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. Got to enjoy raising my son. And then after the 10 years, I ended up being a single parent, and I had been a stay-at-home mom for so long, I didn't have really a career path for myself. So I volunteered at my son's school a fair bit, and the principal told me, just go back to school and get your teacher's helper certificate, and then I can pay you to be at the school. So I went to the school to meet with the advisors and kind of get some information. And while I was waiting, I saw a poster on the wall for women in trades. And I was thinking back, I have some friends who are welders up north in Alberta, and they make a lot of money, and I need a lot of money right now. So I asked if I could switch my appointment to get information about that program. And I did. And I did the Gateway Exploratory program. And that's actually where I met Dave Lavisa. And he taught me that wood is good. And I chose carpentry, and the rest is history.
I love how it was just like a 180.
Yeah.
I think you would have made a good EA, by the way, but we're glad that you went into carpentry. Is that program that you took, would you recommend that to other people wondering if the trades are for them, or how would you recommend that they
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the program I did was geared specifically towards women, but if there's any exploratory program accessible to women, men, girls, boys, or anyone in general, I think it's important to try, because I went into it thinking I want to be a welder. That's where the money is. And I was good at welding, but I really enjoyed working with wood. I felt rewarded. I felt good about what I was doing. It was something I was physically able to do. I could mentally figure out. And it just, I don't know, it just felt natural to me. I tried electrical, plumbing, sheet metal, drywalling, automotive. So, you go in with one idea, but then you might figure out you have a strength in a different area, or you might actually enjoy something completely different. And you learn the different avenues that each trade can take you, right? So yeah, it's definitely beneficial to do an exploratory program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one last question. I know you have a long commute to do, but I'm just curious. On a day-to-day basis, what's the best part of your job? Just on a short-term scale at the end of the day, what do you kind of?
Well, I have two. I like how versatile my job is. I can do anything working with wood all the way to concrete, all the way to industrial steel. Like it's always different. I can do finishing stuff. I can do a big project. So I'm never getting bored. And I always have room to grow in my trade. The other side of it is, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Okay, well, I'll ask you one extra little question then. Do you have, like, because it's my job to sort of develop these little projects and activities for kids to get them using tools and comfortable with the kind of maybe the techniques behind these trades jobs. Do you have any ideas of little projects that we can do with them to introduce them to that? Like, I know the traditional one is like build a birdhouse, but
yeah, well, I've done birdhouses with Girl Guides, and that was a big hit. I know kids like to make like homemade skateboards, or like even if you do a little bit of a larger kind of group project, building like a skateboard ramp or something is really fun for the older kids. They're really into that. Like a bike rack or a scooter rack, so that they can like have something where they can store their things at home or at school. Yeah, I don't know. I saw some of the projects that you sent me for your pilot or whatever, and those look great. Those look really awesome.
We do have fun with them. I really like the idea of the bike rack and the scooter rack though.
Yeah, there was a really cool one I saw where it was just like, it looks like a simple triangle and it mounts on the wall, and you can hang your bike on it, and you can have your water bottle and like little gadgets or tools you use for your bike, and it stores it inside of it, and it's off the floor and on a wall. It's really neat.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna look a few more of those up, and we can develop some new projects to get kids into it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Johanna. I really appreciate getting to chat with you, and yeah.
Well, I look forward.
I'm not very good at the closing of the interviews, but
I thank you so much for having me. It was great meeting everyone, and I look forward to seeing, what you guys do in the future with schools. I think this is a great idea, and I totally support it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, well, drive safe.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Bye. All right. I guess it's over to me. Jordan, would you mind putting the presentation back up for me?
Yeah, sure. I have a little surprise for you because I managed to pull what we thought we weren't going to have for today. We actually do. So I'm going to, instead of sharing the presentation right away, what I'm going to share is this. So a lot of these projects that Jesse's going to show are actually built into lesson plans. So this is what each of these projects, I think, that we're sharing today has an associated lesson plan with it.
I think only one of them doesn't, but I'll differentiate which ones are which. Sounds good. So this is what, if you want us to let you know when these are released, we have a few of them coming up. They have the procedural steps and such in them, but if you skip ahead, you get into some of the other fun stuff, which is, here's the core subjects that we recommend looking to explore these things with. So without digging too much into that, please know that they are there. They are there. We've developed quite a few of them, and they're designed in such a way to make it easy as possible for you as a teacher, either if you're an ADST teacher looking to engage the core curriculum, or the core teacher looking to engage with ADST learning. Where we built it in a way that is as accessible as possible. Is there anything you want me to highlight in this document, or jump straight to the presentation? No, we can go to the presentation, I guess. That's really cool to see that. Thanks for pulling that up. Hey, concrete planters. Okay, so I just wanted to go quickly over again. Jordan had talked about it earlier, a bit about the cross-curricular learning ideas and sort of the, I guess not mission statement, but when it came down onto my plate, there we go. When it came down onto my plate to start designing some of these and helping adapt what teachers had brought to the table as far as ideas and everything, I knew that everything had to be curriculum based if teachers are going to use it. I know that you don't have a whole lot of time on your hands. I was in the classroom for several years, and I know what that's like, trying to cover the curriculum in a short amount of time. then also we have the whole bringing tools into the classrooms, techniques of the trades, and this idea of combining academic courses with these sort of tech ed classes. All of these you can actually do in the classroom or in the shop, or you can combine them together. So some of them, if you're confident and you want to teach on your own, you can do so. If you want to combine it with a woodwork teacher or a metalwork teacher and team teach through them, that's also an option. So what was I going to say about that? Yeah, we're just looking to produce resources for teachers that are fun and project-based. And yeah, let's move on to the concrete planters, I guess. Let's start talking about those.
Yeah, and I would definitely back you up on saying that these were designed either by teachers or with teachers, and there's a lot of considerations that have to be made to a local context or whatever your school is.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you go, we are a resource to reach out to say, okay, this is my challenge. I either don't have the tools or the materials, or I don't know how to convince the shop teacher to give me some time, or I don't know how to convince the Science 8 teacher to give me the time of day. We can help troubleshoot that together. So please do reach out if you have questions, or even if you have edits or suggestions on how to improve.
Yeah, I would love that. Okay, so the concrete planters, lots of ties to the curriculum. This one is aimed at Science 8 because they're sort of starting to talk about like kinetic molecular theory, differences between solids and liquids, and the whole idea behind how does concrete work? Is it a phase change? Are we going from a liquid to a solid? Is it just drying out? How is it solidifying? And as they mix the concrete, they might notice that it's heating up a little bit, giving them kind of hints that it's actually a chemical change going on. So we have a 5-lesson sort of mini unit that Jordan was showing earlier. It's a mini unit developed where the first few lessons, the students are learning and exploring the science behind the concrete drying, where they're actually designing scientific experiments around what variables might affect the drying time or the strength of the concrete. So the lessons lead you through how to teach that, how to get the kids to design their own, starting with a big brainstorm about the different variables that might affect it. So if you add salt, if you add sugar, if you add too much water or not enough water, how does that affect the concrete as it's drying? And then after they have finished doing that testing, the lesson plan involves an entire lesson of making the form. So actually, yeah, there we go. So it leads you through how to teach the kids how to put together a form using duplex nails to make a concrete form. And there we go, the different steps. How to lubricate it so that the concrete comes out properly, and then how to mix the concrete and make your hole in the middle for where the plant actually goes. Anyway, I'm diverting from my notes here. Oh, one cool extension challenge on that is that if you're actually teaching science and you want to go in and start teaching about plants at that point, you can have the students make these planters so that they can use them to put their plants in and then grow them, and then keep learning about how plants grow and tie it all in together and make it really relevant. Anyway, I think that's all I've got on the concrete planters.
I think at this point, I just take a second to share that if you are looking for any of these projects, you can find them on the Skills Ready website. We don't have the lessons plans attached to the website yet. Those will be coming probably towards the end of January or February. But there's a lot of projects here that you'll see actually fit into other curriculum elements. And shout out to the ST63 team, because your projects here, I think you're using this box book stand with your grade 5. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's right. Grade 4, 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to change the grades on that then.
Oh no, you made them complicated. that you'll also find the concrete planter with the instructions there already, and you can go through it. When the projects are live, you will be able to see a download function here for the lesson plan, and then that'll lead you straight to a PDF with all of the lesson pieces in it. And I think the really cool thing, so obviously concrete can be really caustic, and there's a lot of things around, a lot of safety stuff to explore around silica and doing silica awareness. So if you're doing this with kids, it's actually a really interesting way to bring in classroom safety and site safety and talk about working with materials in a very thoughtful and practical way. So there's elements that you could start to introduce around work readiness and tie that back to the careers curriculum that you're dealing with in each of the different grades. I am going to switch back to the next project here.
This is one of my favorites.
Press buttons fast enough. Oh, it's so stressful. There we go.
The PopUp Boat. I don't know if everyone can. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. I've actually got those ones in person, but those are some pretty good pictures. I had a lot of fun making these. I'm actually gonna get Jordan to play the little video that's next and just kind of ask people what they think is happening in it. So this is one of my tests. So I'm filling it from the top. I've got a little syringe, and I'm putting water into these little tubes at the bottom of the boat below the water line. So they get all filled up, and then put your finger over them and pop the boat in the water. So the metal part on the top is a little boiler, and I'm going to light the candle. If I can light the match, there you go. Okay, so it takes a little while because things have to heat up, but eventually something absolutely amazing happens. And I was so excited the first time it happened. If you switch to the next video, it takes about a minute. So instead of making you all sit there and watch it, and hopefully the sound is up.
Anticipation is killing me.
Here it comes.
Oh, maybe
I think it's coming. Yeah. Maybe it's not quite loud enough.
Oh no.
There you go.
I can make the sound effect if you'd like. It sort of sounds like a
so yeah, so Science 8, one of the biggest ideas are, one of the big ideas is talking about the kinetic molecular theory. And I know this isn't like a forum where I can get you all to answer questions, but take a moment and think about what exactly is making that little boat move forward. From what you know about solids, liquids, and gases, what could be going on there? Oh, it's so cute.
Karen says steam.
Yeah. So essentially, the steam, it heats up, it becomes steam, and that phase change and the volume expanding just shoots water out the little tubes at the back. And then as it cools, it draws water back in slowly, and that happens again, and it happens several times a second. You can see I get really excited about this stuff, science teacher. But out of the curriculum, with the practical applications of the kinetic molecular theory, we do have a whole bunch of science lesson plans along with that project, getting students to think about why their boats are moving the way that they do. So they're sort of building it and thinking about the kinetic molecular theory, and then explaining it through what they learn. The actual boiler there is built with a copper end cap, and then a tiny little sheet of sheet metal and some copper tubing. And the end cap is available at any hardware store. The sheet metal and the tubes are available from hobby shops. And all the dimensions of everything will be available in the lessons, and once we upload this project onto the site. And essentially soldering the components together to make a continuous little boiler with no leaks in it. So you learn some troubleshooting along the way. You learn some soldering, which is integral to plumbing, and the ideas behind steam fitters. And who else used that?
Yeah, this would be a Boilermaker project as well.
Yeah.
To explore those careers. There's also boat making. All that.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Yes, Boilermakers. The hull part, we do have instructions on how to build the hull part out of wood. You can also make it a design project where they can build it out of whatever they have on hand, as long as it's not particularly flammable. Yeah.
It's a relatively big project because the boiler does get hot, but the rest of it, I mean, it's floating in water. It's not going anywhere on fire.
Except I did see one video online where they put it in a little pond and let it put off into under some bushes, and I thought, oh, that could end badly.
Fair enough. So the bathtub you're floating it in, be cautious there. One thing I'd like to pause and to say, because we do have a little bit of time, are there questions with any of these projects? Yeah, feel free to add them in the chat as we go as well. One of my favorite parts of this project is that when I got this project in the mail, because of course you made it in the middle of the pandemic, and you said, I've got an idea, I think I can make it work. And I said, okay, cool. And I opened it, and it's just like possibly the most beautiful random wood project we've ever made. And what's really neat about this is, I think when you're engaging students who may never have worked with wood before, it's a pretty broad, because they get to kind of design their own shape and work with it through. It's a pretty open-ended outcome for them in terms of how much effort and energy they put into it. So it can be a really, really neat opportunity for students who've never ever worked with tools to really kind of make it their own, and really introduce a lot of those like foundational elements of finishing wood and other stuff like that. So it's a pretty adaptable project in many different ways.
Yeah, this is one of the hulls I made, and it's just flat. You just cut out a flat cutout, and then you can use what is it called? Pocket.
Oh, the pocket screws.
Yeah, just to get the angle right, because the ends have to be under the water. And you can play with the design of them too. If kids are really into it, moving the pipes in different orientations around the boat, like having them kind of come around and go backwards, set it anyway. It's pretty fun. The other thing I would highly recommend is if you aren't able to drill a hole to keep the candle still, then you're gonna have to find a way to have it in the boat, secure it in the boat, because it does rattle around quite a bit. I saw a question from Randy there about the copper, some that just have copper pipe as the boiler.
Where it twirls around and then back out the end. So with that, Randy, feel free to jump in and interrupt, but my understanding is where these bits, instead of actually doing like a solder, and so part of this was introducing like basic metal joinery. So then you've got your welding and your boiler making introduced, but instead of that, you can just use the same refrigeration line. Take a dowel piece, maybe a 1-inch dowel, and then wrap it around. It takes a little bit of effort. If you're really, really struggling with it, you can warm it up a little bit. Don't put it in the microwave, obviously, but you never know. Just use a candle or something else. You can wrap it around and then shape it so that, so same sort of effect where you've got the steam coming out the end, but it's less of a boiler and more of a kind of a contained vessel. Unless I'm way off base on that one.
No, I tried a couple of prototypes with it, and I couldn't quite get it working, and I got frustrated, and this was the one that seemed the easiest to make. So
sure.
Yeah, if I can play more with the copper tubing and with longer pieces of the tubing, that would be good. The tubing that I bought kind of only came in maybe foot-long lengths, and it wasn't quite long enough to get enough wraps. Actually, I don't really know what the science behind it not working was, but yeah, if I could get my hands on longer tubing, it would work. The bigger tubing didn't seem to work very well, so the refrigeration like the ones that I could get my hands on, no luck.
Oh,
But I'm totally open to playing.
sounds like an experiment to some design thinking to go in.
Yeah.
Do you want to transition into do you want me to transition into the next project?
Yeah, sure. I got all excited for a moment about the kinetic molecular theory, and I was thinking about water, vapor, and vapor barriers, and condensation in houses, and there's so many extra lessons you could teach and concepts to do with building things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I still think I'll share a quick anecdote. One of my favorite experiences when we were renovating our house was that we had a very competent builder argue with me for a long time that water wasn't going to get into the building because the rain was never going to hit the wall. And then I had to explain that there's water in the air. And he was like, absolutely not. That water is not in the air. That doesn't make any sense. Why would the water go through the wall in the air? He got very frustrated about it and stormed off, and then came back the next day saying, I did some research and there is water in the air and I understand now. So maybe just for future reference in terms of increasing the knowledge base in industry, this would be a great time to introduce some building science. So perhaps that's the next series of lessons we'll do. Building Science 101 as part of the Science 10 curriculum. Or we do that in elementary. And then by the time they're, all right, Building Science 101 coming.
I'm in.
All right, I'm going to transition to this next project because because this is the season of the Skills Canada and Skills BC regionals. So one of the projects we did was in partnership with Skills BC, and looking here specifically on the island, we had a chance to get some grade 8 teachers together who are already participating in the middle school competitions or the junior skills competitions. And what we did is Jesse did all the work. What Jesse did was create a series of lessons to support the gravity car project. So it's there. This resource should be available by the end of the month. So if you are in a middle school and you're looking to run gravity car, it's a chance to take a look at it. If you want to see the draft and not wait for us, it is online already under the South Island Partnership resources. And I will go and see if I can find that link now. But yeah, the final version of it, including edits after we had a chance to explore with teachers a little bit, and your feedback is coming soon. So do email me if you'd like a copy of that when we publish it. But yeah, I'm going to switch to a share screen and hand it over to Jesse.
Sure. Yeah, this one's really fun. There's a ton of ties into the math and science curriculum. And because there's so much action and it's so much fun, there's just so many directions you can take it. The lesson that comes out has a whole bunch of different ties, including, I think there were some English and social studies ties, but being the math and science nerd I am focusing on that. But the Science 6s start learning about Newton's laws of motion. So this is a fantastic, exciting way to explore that. Math 6 kids are learning about line graphs. There's all sorts of different statistics you can take from a classroom full of these cars. So if the kids make their own cars, even just for Skills Canada, and then you bring them back and you make your own ramp, you can be timing them going down the ramp. You can find average sort of central tendency of all of your runs, and then classroom averages. Math 8, they're starting to learn about exponents, which makes me think about acceleration. So they're talking about linear relationships in Math 8. So you can actually graph acceleration over time, and it should be fairly constant for these cars due to gravity. But it would be really cool to do that with kids and have them discover it on their own, that is that the acceleration due to gravity is constant. So that's all in the lesson plan that's coming out, and that was a collaboration with a bunch of teachers. We had some fun coming up with the different ways of tying this into the curriculum. So if your kids are really into it, you can elongate that and teach all sorts of stuff from it.
Yeah, and I think one of the fun parts about that session was it was one of the few times that we had a chance to You'd think I would have figured out technology in the Zoom period. One of the fun parts of that project was actually sitting with teachers and just having them brainstorm together about how they deliver it and what they would do in schools. So I think a lot of the times we often approach it as what's the core curriculum element we're trying to teach, and how do we build a project out of it? but sometimes you can flip it on its head and say, what's the project? And so we were able to do that on a Pro D Day and really encourage that kind of collaboration with what's the project that you're learning? So in this case, the gravity car, and how can it be incorporated into curriculum? So we're happy to share that. I'll share the Solenoid Dungeon now.
Sure. This one, I did talk about it very quickly in our electrical webinar, but I wanted to go back to it. This one isn't one of the blended learning projects we did. This was one that I developed. I was tasked with coming up with a electrical way of teaching the entire Physics 11 and Foundations of Math 11 curriculum and provide some resources and projects for that. So this is a series of, I believe, 12 projects covering all of it, all of Foundations 11, Foundations of Math 11 and Physics 11. And this one was one of my favorites, and I think it just ties into things really well. So quadratic equations, they can be so dry. They can be so dry. We're just drawing curves all the time, but who doesn't want to create a cannon of some sort and shoot something across the room? So these are pretty low power. You're not going to get kids shooting magnets dangerously. They only kind of shoot at most a foot. But this is how a solenoid works. So it's actually picking the magnet up off the ground there, and you briefly electrify that coil, and the magnet gets pulled up towards the middle of the solenoid. And then when you stop the electricity, the momentum keeps the magnet flying through. So part of the lessons that will be available show you how to video that. So students can build this and then video that and then measure how high it goes, how far it goes, and use all of those numbers to come up with their own quadratic functions. Also, you can use that for all of the Physics 12, what is it called? Where am I here? Oh, the big idea of an object's motion being predicted, analyzed, and described. So they're looking at projectile motion. Super fun. And, you know, I know lots of teachers do that with a potato cannon or something, but this one's pretty desktop and friendly. So the materials that I bought, that enameled wire and the connector wires, those are easily available online or at robotic stores or a hobby store. I ordered them online. And then your battery, well, they're available everywhere. Batteries, magnets, tape, just available at the hardware store. Yeah, I just really like that one, so I thought I'd go over it again.
It's a handy one. So I would point out, so some of the electrifying math projects are online already. You can head over to the website, and if you click on the electrifying math button, it'll load them all that are there. We're slowly releasing them kind of one project at a time as well. If you'd like to see the whole module when it's complete, do email me and we'll make sure that you're on that list. One of the really kind of cool things about the way that Jesse approached this is a lot of the terms and glossaries and things like, or a lot of the terms and ideas are built into the glossary, so you can build out projects from there with students, but they're not necessarily explicitly for only I'm in like a grade 11 audience. Some of this is appearing earlier in the curriculum, and these projects could be integrated as early as, I think we looked at grade 7. There's some electrical, and grade 5 as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can use them at any point. Every grade along in the science curriculum at least has kids learning about designing scientific experiments. So what is a solenoid? How does it work? What makes it stronger? How can you make it shoot that magnet further? Can you use a bigger magnet? Can you do more wraps? I wouldn't recommend attaching it to anything bigger than a 9-volt battery, but that might make a difference. And then you can, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, in a science experiment, maybe, but we're not recommending car batteries or anything.
No. But speaking of car batteries, this is another connection into the careers, because auto mechanics, heavy duty mechanics, millwrights, there's solenoids in all of these careers, and sometimes people don't really know how they work. So here's a perfect example of what's actually going on inside something that you might have a casing over something and not know that it's full of little wire wraps and magnets and metal, like an electricity, and how it ticks on and off. This is all just open for you to see and play with. So
yeah, for sure. I also would like to highlight, so we covered with the electrifying math, that's a grade 11 resource, but we also have developed a series of elementary electrical projects, and a lot of them do tie to the curriculum in that kind of grade 3, 4, 5, and 6 area. So if you're looking for that kind of audience, please do check out the website. A lot of those elementary electrical projects are up already, and the book will be coming out. I'm guessing March probably is when we're going to see it. It's amazing how much work Jesse put into this thing, and then how much work we have to do to publish it. So yeah, and as Karen mentioned, learning how electricity works is a great start in welding as well. People forget how much electrical is involved in welding, which now makes me wonder if we could do an electrical welding project.
whoa,
I don't know what that would look
that'd
like.
be fun.
Karen, I think you just volunteered to develop a project. Is that what I said? Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. So
yeah, that was kind of my next. I was wondering what suggestions everybody has, because I mean, I can just sit here and come up with things off the top of my head, but if anybody has cool ideas, or there's a type of resource that you want, or what do you need from us? What can I make for you?
I think that's an excellent transition, because what I'm going to do is, just so everyone can come back on camera, so I'm just going to wrap this one up, press stop recording, and then you're welcome to hang out as long as you want and chat about projects. But yeah, so and just I want to highlight, I don't know if it's apparent, but so much work has gone in over the last 2 years from Jesse to make these projects a reality. And a lot of like experimentation and teacher consultation and tradespeople consultation to make sure that these are not only just like fun hands-on learning projects, but there's a real chance to explore tools of the trade and everything else with them. So thank you, Jesse, for everything you put into this. It's pretty amazing what you've created. We stacked it up the other day, just kind of jokingly, to see how much paper has been created as a result. And it's about like a War and Peace size.
Oh my goodness.
Which is great, because you know, who doesn't like another overwhelming textbook of knowledge?
Great, it's my PhD.
Yeah, exactly. You can do your PhD and you've already written it. So that's why a lot of it's online. You can access it at your own pace and in your own way. But yeah, thank you for your time today. I'm going to stop recording. You're welcome to hang out, ask questions, join in the discussion. I would once again like to say thanks to the ITA for making a lot of this possible. It's been really neat to work with their team to say, how can we start to find really accessible ways of introducing the trades earlier and earlier. And I think this is a great way to do that. Sweet. So I stopped recording.